Let me turn on my volume, and we are live. Can you guys just give me a mic check?
Check.
This is
There-
Mike saying check.
Hey, this is Jim
Alrighty.
checking in.
As you can see on my screen, on the top above me, it's JuNiki of JuNiki
Yes.
fame. And then over to my, I don't even know if this is my left or right, is my main man, Mike, over here. Mike is going to take off episode 11, with our usual, what do we call it again? Our statement and whatever.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
This is
So
our legal
take it over.
disclaimer. Legal. So we always like
Yeah.
to kick off episodes with a short little disclaimer so that everything that you're going to hear tonight is our sole opinions. Okay? So myself, Miss Jen, and other side,
They're up
the
on top
JuNikis
for
over
me.
there. None of the four of us actually work for the Pokemon Company International. Okay? Or Game Freak, or the Pokemon Company, or Nintendo, or any of those things that are related to the official business happenings with that kind of realm. So everything you're going to hear tonight is strictly our opinion. So
Yes.
whatever you hear, our opinion only, grain of salt, has no official weight or bearing, but it comes back with a lifetime of experience that you're about to hear about tonight from our esteemed guests. And if you can't tell, we're like super giddy to have them on tonight. It's going to be awesome. They're not quite as excited as we are, but that's okay. We're gonna roll with it anyway. So we got them for about an hour or so, and they're our hostage. And
Woohoo!
we did prep them with some general topics that we're going to be talking about tonight, but there'll be others where we're going to wing it too. So hold on to your seats, okay?
Yep, we did provide some questions, and I guess we'll kick it off there. I mean, probably we should just like say, let you give you guys a couple minutes to say a few words about yourself, how you got into Pokemon and things like that. So I'm just gonna go above me to Nikki because Nikki's right above me. Nikki, why don't you start it off?
Okay. I got into Pokemon when my son was 5. He is now 23 and a half. What are you pointing up? You're pointing up at me.
Here you are.
He's 23 and a half, and he wanted to play the trading card game. He wanted trading cards. We didn't know what he really wanted, so we bought him Topps cards, which was not what he wanted, and little 5-year-old Zane did really to us and said he wanted trading cards. The game, mother. So a couple years later, we joined the league because he was 5. He needed a little help reading, and then we became judges, and the rest is history, I guess. So.
Awesome.
Wow,
Julie?
me probably about 20 years ago or so, same type of thing. Our son learned about Pokemon when he was at his daycare and fell in love with this little Raichu character. And so that explains a lot moving forward. But yeah, same type of thing. He was interested. He wanted to know what the cards were doing. Chris and I were looking at each other going, oh my gosh, he wants to read. That was always a struggle. And we're like, let's go buy the boy some cards. And here we are.
Awesome.
Wow, 20 years later, who knows?
Oof.
I think all 4 of us got started with our kids, right, Mike? You got started with the boys too?
Yeah, actually, I think it was the same year that Xander won nationals. Was it 2012? I don't remember. It seems like forever ago, but it seems just like yesterday. Yeah, but yeah, it seems like we do a lot of things for kids, and the next thing you know, it's become a whole family affair, and who knows, another 20 years down the road where I might be.
Grandkids, maybe?
Grandkids. I was going to say my grands.
Oh, shudder, shudder.
Not ready for that.
I know Jared's at home watching, and he's my oldest, and he's probably going, no, no kids whatsoever. But it's interesting too is you guys talked about getting involved with your kids and carrying forward, and I know Zane is still active with
He is.
events. He's not. He probably plays from time to time, but not really competitively, right? So most of
He
his
got 100 points out of London, so
Nice.
he's working this year, trying to get that
Awesome.
invite again.
Well, that's
Fantastic.
great. So he's both on the staffing side as well
Yep.
as now getting back into the competitive side. That's great. But June, your kids aren't in that competitive scene anymore, right?
Ben, no, not really. Ben and Lindsay will play in an occasional pre-release, maybe once a year for us. Lindsay will help us sometimes at our local events if we need the help. So she'll run Tom for me, or sit and do other admin kind of like type stuff for us. So but yeah, not really competitively. I know Lindsay, proud mama moments, when she was playing competitively, did have a chance at some scholarship money, so she got a little piece of that pie way back when.
Awesome.
One particular year, her and my husband Chris both qualified for Worlds in Florida,
Wow.
in 2004.
Mhm.
And so that was, we turned that into a nice big family trip, because at that time, Pokemon also paid for adults to have a traveling companion as well. So we were able to take the whole family and just made one big happy memory from it. So it's, yeah,
That's
it's been
awesome.
good times. Good
That
times.
is phenomenal.
I didn't even know that Chris had qualified to play in Worlds. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't speak of it so much anymore.
That's back when Basics
That
had
was-
like 20 HP and it was OP.
Right.
Pretty close.
Tackle for 10. Woo! But speaking of trading cards, so most everybody's really gotten involved. Well, I guess if you go that far back, trading card was the big thing, right? So it was the only thing for a long time, right? And when was the video game championship series kind of introduced to the Pokemon organized play?
I want to say it was 8 seasons ago that the marketing company kicked in and started running video game.
I'm thinking, yes, right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Well, because
You're
we've been
spot on with
JuNiki
that.
for 6, so I'm thinking it was 8.
Yes.
Wow. So it's in the grand scheme of the Pokemon franchise, the video game championship series as a competitive event or series of events is actually really, really young comparative to the trading card game.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right. So you mentioned the marketing company, and I know there's a great story about how you guys got involved with the video game championship series, the VGC series, as it kind of has morphed from the primordial.
Yeah, June,
ooze.
this
Nikki,
one's on
no,
you.
no,
June.
you
This
start.
one's on
You start. You start. You
The
start. I'll
primordial ooze, Mike. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
The
So
second year of the marketing company, our husbands, Chris and David, were on staff for nationals that year, and we were not. And so we both applied and were accepted to work the video game side at $25 an hour, I think it was.
Yes.
And we said, great, yes, absolutely. Then we'll fly ourselves out there and
Sure.
work video game and get paid. But then lunchtime happened, right? They sent June and I away. And when we came back, we were told we were fired. We were a little surprised.
Sad.
What did we do wrong?
Right.
But they needed us to go, and that's what we're here for. They needed us to go fix the hives because the hives were not running like expected the year before when we were on the hives and we rocked it. So we were sad about being fired, and then we fixed the hives. I think I sent June to the worst of them. I got masters. She got
Yeah.
juniors.
Thank you. I got to deal, because she sent me to juniors and seniors, I got to deal with both of our husbands on top of everything else. And I was like, man, girlfriend. But I was even more upset about the fact that it was like, score, I'm actually going to get paid $25 an hour to enjoy and still be a part of the community and get paid for this. And then it was like, man, denied, and they took it away. But
Yep.
it's all good.
Yeah. And then the following year we got invites as the leads of video game, and we were a little surprised and
Surprised?
concerned.
Yeah.
What do you want us to do?
You're like, wait a minute here.
Yes.
So was it that second year? So that they had a year before you guys actually took over, where they kind of attempted to run things.
They had actually the 2 years did run through that marketing company. It was, you came in and they had what were those squishy squishy floor mats in different multicolors,
Yes,
and
like the fatigue mats or something, kind of
right. And
similar
if you
to
made it through,
those.
if you beat a game, you went to another color floor and you beat somebody else who already beat somebody. And if you made it all the way through to the couches at the end, then you made it into the top cut. It was
So,
very
like double elimination or something?
yeah.
It was kind of
Before you
similar
rip-
to that, yes.
Yeah. And then the juniors, they would have let, if they got knocked out, run back and try again to get through. Masters, too bad, so sad. Kind of like nowadays. Anyway,
Thanks for coming. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I think they actually, wasn't Chris at Worlds that first marketing year over in that video game side?
He may have been.
I think that
I
was his
really-
original.
Really can't remember.
So how
Yeah.
long did the marketing company actually try to run the video game championships and before like the Pokemon company took it over?
I think it was just the 2 years, and then
Okay.
June and I.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So when you got the official invite to come back, that was actually with the Pokemon Company International, and they
Mhm.
kind of developed the whole championship series with qualifying for World Championships.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just know they wanted it run the way TCG was run, using volunteers, and well, like we all are at these big events.
As similar as it could be, ran along the same lines that TCG was, as far as the organizational piece goes, with the judges on the floor and then having our helpers in the hive and, runners. So,
Excellent.
and they felt that time they had enough confidence in us to get the job done. And wow, JuNiki was born.
Oh yes.
So that first year that you guys were leads, how did you decide who was going to be lead of what? Was that something that TPCI said you guys should do this, or you guys kind of?
No, actually, they kind of really left it up to us. So the natural course of things, since Nikki, was mostly like computer stage-ish, hive, she was in the hive long before I was, because I was actually a floor judge for TCG for the longest time. So we just kind of fell into those roles naturally, because I don't mind being on the floor, talking with the players, training staff. I don't, yeah, right? I am all there and in that. Nikki feels she will do it, but she feels less comfortable about like confrontation and things like that. And that's one of my that's one of my stronger suits. Yeah, she has a memorable moment at a World's Championship, by the way, that you need to ask her about.
Yeah,
she needs to tell that story here.
Oh, that's
Anyway,
definitely going to come up.
We just kind of fell into those roles naturally, and
and
here we are.
They recommended that we had a tech role as well, because
After
neither one of
after
first couple
I think
years,
the first couple years, and then it was like after that, it was maybe that third year, and it was like, please, I really need some help here. So, and
So-
then
One of the things that everybody knows that the VGC staff and community is referred to as the dark side, and it's not just because we have cookies all the time,
Which we do,
and
though.
and it's not because we're the best side.
really.
There's a story behind it, and
There we go.
honestly, I don't think I even heard the story. I just kind of just fell in line with it when I started staffing and volunteering for VGC events, and it wasn't, I think, until like the second or third year I actually asked, okay, why is the VGC called the dark side?
It's a Mike Lysick thing, as far as I know.
Yes. When Nikki and I first were asked, we got that email, and then we were like, oh boy, oh crap. And they were like, okay. And I think we had just happened to be chatting with Lysick, and he's like, it was actually a phrase that he coined, and he's like, yep, welcome to the dark side. So that's, I mean, the short, simple, sweet, that's how that was born.
And
We're
then
like, okay.
went in search of shirts that said "Welcome to the Dark Side. We have cookies." Couldn't find shirts I liked. Found a actually Zane's first girlfriend was a nice artist, had her draw, what I'm wearing now, let's see, can you guys see it? Maybe.
There it is.
Oh, I have that button. I have
and
that button.
it's
I have that
not
button.
a Pikachu. Yeah. It's a rabbit, really long ears, right? But Pokeball cookies on the plate. Anyway, so we just went with that because it made sense, and the cookies were started at the very beginning.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like the cookie tradition.
Well, it makes perfect sense too, because if the lights ever go out in a venue, video
Oh, yeah.
gamers can game on. They can still
That's
play.
right.
They don't need no
Play in the
stinking
dark.
lights.
Yes.
Sorry, guys, I had to toss that out there.
Oh yeah. Was that in Arizona?
Well, no, not only that, it was Worlds as well.
in
that's
San
right.
Francisco.
That's right.
Yeah.
When regionals has had that happen.
Yes,
Anytime there's a
Arizona.
light control on the wall, somebody will find it and lean on it.
I
Yeah.
think Dallas,
Yeah.
somebody
Guaranteed.
leaned on it last
Invariably.
year.
Guaranteed. Oh Lord. So one of the other sets of questions we have is like how many nationals, worlds have you staffed / led kind of thing, and it sounds like there's a nice little story that Nikki
Wow.
can throw in there as
I
well.
can throw in there as well. Yeah. June, do you want to do yours first, and then I'll go into mine with the
No.
story? No.
No.
Story.
No.
Oh, no,
Okay.
I can. I was trying to think way back when. I want to say when our first huge event we went to was 2002. Then through 2004, I was mom, just supported the family, the kiddos and the husband. So I want to say maybe 2006. I want to say Anaheim. I believe it was Anaheim is when I first volunteered, just doing, various things, whatever I was asked to do. So, and as far as Nats and Worlds go, oh my goodness, guys, to be honest
of
with
them?
you, I seriously have lost. No, I'm not that prestiged, but I have been most likely almost to every single one, except for 1 year, I believe. We had some death in the family. We couldn't make it, but I pretty much have been almost, maybe, I don't know, 15 years now, maybe 14 in one capacity or another.
Wow.
So it's almost like a way of life, and although our kids don't play anymore, it's still a way for us to give back to our a community, so to sense, our local community, with running the leagues, and for the kids, safe place for kids to go to learn, and if I wasn't doing that, I'd be doing something else. So this is something that we still continue to enjoy, and I'll still continue to do it. And to this day, sometimes when I see prior Pokemon now mostly
Uh-oh, we lost Nikki.
Pokemon now mostly has been going to filling out an application process. Prior to that, it was typically solicited through emails. And so we would always get so super excited, even year after year, I'd get that email, and it's just like, oh my gosh, they want me back. This is awesome, and I'd still get super excited that, Pikachu wanted me to come and do something for them. So.
Yeah, we're just getting a notification that Nikki just fell off. Can you get her back on?
Yeah, let me see if I can, because it's showing that she's still there, but
Hope
let me see
so.
if I got to get her back on. In the meantime, enjoy a really large picture of Mike on my screen. No, it's saying that she's on the call.
That's weird.
That's weird. She may have to close Skype.
I can say something about this application process and keep talking if you guys wouldn't
Absolutely,
mind.
because I think it's new for all of us, but it
It's-
seems to be the trend that's going on now, especially for
Yes.
like internationals and Nats and Nats and Worlds and things like that. So there's a lot of judges that are in the
Yes.
channel that are watching, and I know that they're kind of curious as to how that works.
What I would just like to say is that if you fill out an application for a couple of events and you're not selected, keep doing what you're doing. If you're enjoying doing it, keep doing what you're doing at the local level. If there's regionals nearby, close to you, by all means, reach out to the organizers and see if they could, use any help. Pretty much my advice is just to, just keep doing what you're doing and keep filling out those applications. Maybe they felt, whoever's reviewing those apps, maybe they just want to make sure that, sorry about that, guys.
No worries.
Nana.
Oh, that's Nana's boy.
Aw.
Anyway, no. Oh my gosh, and his friends. Oh, I'm so sorry to mess this up.
It's
It's
okay.
okay.
It's all right.
Nana's
Taka.
Nice.
yeah, right. Nana's Pokemon shop is closed right now. When Nana can talk to you guys, I'm talking to some
Pokemon
friends.
shop. I want to go to
So-
Nana's Pokemon shop.
Right?
Pokemon shop.
So when Nana will come and get you when we can play Pokemon, okay?
Okay.
All right, I love you.
Oh, that is so adorable. I can't.
Oh gosh, you guys, I'm so sorry.
No, that's
Sorry.
totally
No,
cool.
No. Later. Go. I'll come and get you. Hi, baby.
You guys have no
I love
idea what you're witnessing right now. This is
Oh
awesome.
my gosh.
Feel privileged,
All right.
please.
Oh.
I'll give that a kiss later. Okay?
We don't get to see Nana June.
Oh my gosh.
We get to see
Oh,
Mama June.
man. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm gonna cry. No, I completely lost everything that I was saying. Oh
No.
yeah, don't give up.
Don't give up.
Sorry for that interruption, by the way, but I love my
It's okay.
grands.
That is
Awesome.
absolutely
That is
okay.
so awesome.
If
You guys,
anything
yeah, good to
interrupts,
see a different side.
if anything ever interrupts a show, that is more than acceptable. Oh my God, that was phenomenal.
That was great.
Oh,
So don't give up. Maybe whoever's reviewing those apps, maybe they just want you to get a few more of the larger type of events under your belt. So don't give up. If that's truly a dream and something that you want to go for, don't give up filling up those applications. If by chance there's a way that you can get yourself there, to the event, and just volunteer. And I don't want to say just volunteer, because volunteers are hugely important to these larger events. Without the volunteers, people who aren't necessarily deemed a staff volunteer, these events would not run as smooth as they do. Volunteers are vital to every single event.
So when I got cut off, that's what I was going to say. I started as a volunteer. I have volunteered and worked at every Worlds ever. So
Wow.
volunteered at 2002 Seattle, and played in that very first Professor Cup. Didn't do very well at all, but played in that very first Professor Cup. Volunteered actually I was paid to go to Orlando 2004. David and I were one volunteer doing the job for we did the, what was it, create a card.
Yes.
It became the creative center later, but it was the create a card area. So you got a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and it had the card printed on it, and you created a card, and there were prizes and whatnot. But David, that was also that year they had a Pokemon Rocks America, and so David got pulled out to that. It was also a year of big storms. Do you remember what the name of that storm was? June, do you remember?
Oh my gosh.
So the players kept contacting me saying, is Worlds going to be canceled because the storm just
Crazy.
came through? And I'm like, you know what? It's not going to be canceled. But our hotel was full of a lot of people who lost their homes during that.
Yes.
So we got
Wow.
to talk to some very cool people. 2004 was the Create a Card. 2005 and 6, I was inside the Munchlax, because that's where you put volunteers.
That's awesome.
Sorry about the phone ringing.
no.
And then 2007 was my first official staffed Worlds, invited to work. And for that next 5 years, I was the league at Worlds. I ran league at Worlds. June wins.
Really?
He was really excited about that league that you ran that year.
That's right. That's right.
Ooh.
So that was what, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 12. June and I started as JuNiki. And 13 was about the story that you wanted me to tell.
Yes, please.
June. You want to go into that one?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
so that was Vancouver.
Yes.
And June
the
had
story.
a job interview. Took her away from me for about an hour and a half. It was the first full year that Chris Brown was in charge. Is that the first full year he was in charge?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
So, and he was beefing up the stream. He was hired to head VG and beef upstream, and so he was on the stage 95% of the time, and June and I were in the video game area. But then June disappeared, and I don't
Not
know
on
if I've
purpose.
given you yet. I don't know. Anyway, in juniors, and of course it was June and I. We were listed as the head judges, and they didn't even give us a team. So I had walk-on staff from Washington and Oregon because we didn't have a team. We had like 3 judges for all of video game. But I had juniors, and my juniors, and of course it's an international championship, right? So we had Japanese junior and we had a European junior. I don't remember what language, but English was not the first one. So we had the parents of the European kid constantly signing to her, talking at her, and the Japanese parent got very frustrated and complained a lot through translators. I had 2 translators trying to make this happen. Of course, the games were timed at the time, and they would time and end and say who won. Gosh, those were the days. Anyway, so what I ended up doing with these translators, because they were kind of, translators are often sitting and not working. We don't always need them. I ended up having a wall of translators facing the audience, blocking this junior table from the audience so neither parent could talk to or see either of their children, so that the game could finish.
Yeah.
Both children made top cut, so of course we had to go further with this, but the wall of translators, the translators had a lot of fun beating that wall. They originally started facing the children, and then they realized that was kind of intimidating, so they turned around and faced the audience. But June came back, and I said, I'm going on break. I may or may not come back.
I walked back into the venue, and I see this wall of translators, and I'm looking at Nikki like going, what the hell happened? And she goes, don't ask, you're back, I'm leaving. I said, okay, love you, bye. So
yes, translators are very useful.
Poor thing.
Yeah, that's why I do tend to stick to admin and let June be on the floor.
Wow.
that one time.
That one traumatic experience just triggers everything, right?
But she's gotten way better since then.
Oh yeah.
She's awesome.
Yeah. I enjoyed Australia. That was fun.
Well, that was going to be my question, actually, because I know that last year you were invited to head judge Australia, and then you just came back from London for being, I think, assistant head judge.
Yeah,
in London.
Head judge. Yes,
so you go from working in the hive, and now you're back out on the floor as a head judge. How's that working out?
This is worldwide.
It's well, and then San Jose. Like I said, San Jose was this last weekend, and I was head judge there. And while I had June out in the hall, I only once tag teamed her so she can go in and give them some heck on the floor.
That was awesome.
The judges didn't quite know what to make of Mama June coming in and saying, "What the heck? Why is it so quiet in here?" I don't remember what you yelled at them for. But no, I can go back and forth. I felt the need to reread all the rules again and pull out my game, dust off my DS, because I want to be a little more aware of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Stream helps that. I mean, I know June Stream will go to that conversation as well, but I like Stream because I could watch the team, like watch who's winning, right? I can see what's going on, what attacks are out there. This time I was left with, give me the top 8, team sheets. I want to see what's being played. So I was going through that during top, but I didn't get to watch the games as much. So I can do either.
Awesome.
So June mentioned a little while ago that besides some of the tournament stuff, she also does a lot of league events. And I know, like myself, I'm like active. Well, I help support like 3 leagues here in Fort Wayne, predominantly number one particular league, but I'm on the roster for 2 others, and then I've got other league leaders that basically run the other ones, but I just help support the other ones as much as I can. And I know June said that she supports a league in your area.
We have 2 of them here.
2 there, and then and Nikki, well, kitty cat. Hi.
We actually support 2. We do 2 ourselves, but we support many when people need the help or
Yeah.
I might be losing you guys again.
It's the cat.
We'll get you back if you go.
I think we lost her. She's frozen in time.
That's okay. The cat's on the
Yes.
screen.
So while we try to get to Miss Nikki back, so besides league stuff, I know also since the two of you are right next to each other geographically, comparatively speaking to a lot of the other staff players, the Pacific Northwest is almost like the Ohio region, right? Where you've got a high density of high caliber judges. So I know you guys support each other in other events too. And so besides leagues and kind of the conventional circuit, what are some of the other things that you guys do for Pokemon related things? I know there's some community festivals and stuff like that.
Yes, we do. We do some community festival stuff. We've also do conventions. Here in the Portland area, it's KomoriCon. We've also done smaller city conventions in the Salem area, Cherry City, Comic Con, some things like that. Recently, within the last few years, we also ran some after school programs,
Wow.
kind of called, enhancement, like, blast off, enhancement after school programs, just to, teach the kiddos how to play and stuff like that. Well, not so much with the schools now, just because we're just so extremely busy and we just can't keep that up, but we still support them. We'll have people come to us and ask us, if we have, any type of items that we could donate or names that we could suggest where, they can continue doing those types of programs. So we have helped at PAX in Seattle area a few times. I know David and Nikki have always, they help out at PAX up there as well. And I feel bad because Nikki's not with us yet, but
She'll be back.
I'm going to go ahead and kind of speak with her. Just recently this summer, David and Nikki were approached to do what is called a Kent Cornucopia Days. So it's kind of like a community event, and so we went up and I helped David and Nikki do that. Did some learn to play and different kind of fun type of stuff like that with the kiddos and just getting information out there about Pokemon. Sorry, I was just shot with a Nerf gun. See, right here.
Taka taka.
My fun never ends. Never
That is
ends.
awesome.
Oh my goodness.
This
That is so cool.
awesome.
Go put that upstairs.
So there's just a besides kind of the competitive side that we see a lot of players, or maybe not quite as many players so much on the VGC side recently, playing. You are participating in a lot of kind of community growth events, which is really cool. And it goes beyond just the VGC stuff. It's a trading card game. I think last time I was talking with you about like Cornucopia Days, you also had Pokemon Go events.
Yes. Yes.
Tying in the broader Pokemon portfolio.
Yeah, we recently, with our Pokemon, we kind of call it Pokemon Go Catch 'em All when we're at these types of events like the conventions and the community events, where we'll make up a go sheet of the Pokestops within a 6 to 8 block radius of where the venue happens to be. And we'll take screenshots of the nearby Pokemon that are near those Pokestops. We'll put them on a 8.5 by 11 sheet, and we call it Pokemon Go Catch 'em All. People go out, they catch those. If they happen to catch all those Pokemon, they bring them back for a little extra special surprise from us. So we still try to keep things fresh, and try to catch and capture all of the games. I know we, on a weekly basis, we take, typically on Tuesday nights, we take a Pokken setup to one of our leagues. And I'm pretty sure that David does that as well at one of his leagues. And the kids absolutely love it. Oftentimes they'll mix the two. They'll sit down and play a couple of, games, and then they'll come on back over and play a game of cards and just kind of flip-flop it around. But just tried to keep it fun, fresh, alive, so it keeps the kids' interest up. So
That's awesome.
This is Nikki's payback for me because she never forgave me.
For leaving.
This is my payback. Nikki.
Yeah, she shares the story and then has technical problems.
Right? She deserves a big fat really seriously.
You gotta give it to her when she gets back. Yeah,
she's laughing away at me because I'm not the talker. I'm typically not the talker. Oh my goodness.
So we've kind of talked a little bit about history and some of the things that you've been doing and kind of the growth in the early days of the community. Let's start transitioning here towards the latter half of our episode, a little bit more towards, I'll say, current events, but not necessarily current, right? So the VGC circuit is relatively new, comparatively speaking, especially on the hardcore competitive side, with prize money and trips and the things that we got going on now. There's a couple questions in that ballpark that I'd love to hear some opinions on, and they kind of stem around, where do you feel the championship series is, where the kind of the state of the union kind of feel for the health of the championship series, and what direction do you think it's heading in? Do you think we're kind of on this upwards trend, or do you think we're kind of leveling out, or things that we can do as a community for this series?
Oh wow, I was gonna toss this one to Nikki. Man.
That's okay. Remember, the disclaimer, everything's just our opinion. So
true. That's true. No, I think things are like leveling out. I think the excitement is still there, but and everybody can see, the attendance numbers have dropped, pretty significantly. I don't think it's just been, a small drop, and we see that all over the place, even at the local level. Half the time we're not even firing off our PCs because we just don't have the attendance there, juniors and senior numbers especially. Now, we did have a couple of seniors who aged up into masters and they're still playing, but it's been a difficult challenge, and we're still racking our brains out trying to figure out, okay, what can we do? I don't know if it's because of the game or because parents feel that the game is a lot takes a lot of time to get those teams, to get the Pokemon trained and get them up and to get a competitive team put together. Not sure if they just have the resources to do that. I wish I had the answer. I really do. All things typically point back to the local leagues, and I know at both of our leagues, we also, we have a handful of video gamers come, but they just come just to hang out and they just want to play the fun battles. It's not really set, not necessarily because we don't want it to be, but we don't get the competitive players at the local league to even help develop the younger kiddos. What the answer to that, I wish somebody could figure it out and let me know, because I certainly would implement whatever I needed to do to try to help, build that back up for us. So,
yeah, I think, some of that league attendance, like you said, with the video game community, there's a handful of video gamers in Fort Wayne, but most of them just don't attend any kind of league whatsoever. Yeah. I think some of it's because it's the chicken and egg kind of thing, where it's like, why do I want to go if there's only like two of us and we can play over, Battle Spot or Friend Connect over the internet, and I can sit at home in my PJs and eat Cheerios and play VGC.
Yep.
So I think there's a little bit of that, but at the same time, I know Jen and I have talked a little bit. It seems like support for video game league activities from the companies is next to nil, right?
No, just say it. It's non-existent.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Let's
There's
call it
Nikki.
what it is.
Yay!
You wanted me to be honest. It's just simply non-existent.
Oh, absolutely.
Even if there was some way where they could even give us like a special Pokemon to be able to pass out somehow.
Oh, yeah.
When they, reach the end of their, stamp cards or, the rows, the leaderboards. anything, any possible thing. Now, they did used to send us like skins for the DS for the units, but
The league,
those skins, for the league, they don't do that. They don't do that anymore. And but Chris and I were just talking about that last week. We were saying, if there was some way where they could figure out to even give us a special Pokemon to be able to give out to these kiddos at League, that might help. I'm not saying that that's going to be the cure-all, because I really don't think that that's the case, because I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, hey, I can just sit at home. Why do I want to get up, get dressed, and go out when I can sit at home and play on my computer, practice on my computer, with my friends? So
It's almost like there's almost a need I don't know. It's kind of shot in my head, almost like a virtual league that you almost need to establish, there's the battle spot ladders, right, where players can play, and they have rankings and things of that nature. It's almost like you almost need you can almost play within your own league ID. Like if you live within a certain zip code, and you can join go to like once a month, you get something from your actual physical store kind of thing, but something along that lines where they could at least play virtually, and kind of help grow that community. I don't know, but
there's so much online online competitions that they can do now, that I think that's I truly believe that that's what's kind of hurting the physical league, so to speak. Can
they get enough points playing online to actually win that invite to Worlds, though? Is that still a requirement that you go to a couple regionals, do well there, and play online, right?
No.
And it's just the expense, I think, is also keeping people away. Plus, sorry, I don't know what you said before I got back on, but the parents I know, they feel that trading card game is interactive. You're playing with people. It's face to face. They're cards. There's reading and there's math involved, right? So that's how Zane started when he was little. But the video games are a lot of parents. Video games, no, negative.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they have to play online. No, not going to happen. They're not going to ever be online. And now with the cost to go to the larger events, with those points that you have to have, I think those parents are making their choices. They're going, well, Johnny, I could buy your new baseball uniform, or I can pay for you to go play in this regional that we have to fly to in order to get the points that you're going to need to get to Worlds. So there's just so much against it right now, I guess.
And I think you mentioned it a little bit earlier, June, about how there's yes, the company doesn't support it, but also the parent company doesn't support it either. Like, you buy the game, and maybe they mentioned double battles, but never VGC. Like, there was a world champion battle in the game, I think a couple of games ago.
Right.
But other than that, like, you don't buy the game, and it doesn't come with an advertisement for competitive VGC, like when you buy the cards, or when you see the Worlds decks, or you go to League and you can just kind of walk in and play with your cards. Whereas with the video game, you can't just pick up that game and start playing competitively. There's such a huge bar of entry for that kind of stuff, and I think that also hurts as well when the parents want to get involved and they can't figure it out either, but the cards they can figure out easily.
Completely agree.
Completely agree. And we do have communities out there that do these kinds of things, but again, it gets back to video games are always seen as a negative thing for parents, and parents really don't want their kids interacting with strangers online, so when you have communities like Smoggin or the old Nugget Bridge, which I know you guys are aware of, because they're very prominent out in the West Coast, parents just they're really kind of freaked out about that kind of situation, getting their kids involved with strangers. So
I think with the video gamers too, it's a different mindset versus trading card game, so to speak. Not necessarily good or bad. It's just different for, obvious reasons. But and I think I even say just this last weekend when we were at San Jose, I was helping to run side events. I think we ended up firing off only 2 video game side events. So, and that's where I'm leading back to, is that I think it's just like a different mindset, because they're like, well, no, I don't really want to do that. I just kind of want to wander around, and I'm just going to sit and, play a fun, friendly game with my friend now that I'm done with the main event. And
Yeah.
so I think it's just the community as a whole that they would, just rather chill and relax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they
Once
even
they're-
say it.
once they're
They get
done
to
playing.
events and they come to events to see their friends. They don't necessarily come to events to kind of play in a different kind of format, because that's even more work that they have to do. Get another team for a different format for side events. They don't. They don't want to do that.
Yeah.
They're coming.
Nope.
They've just played like 100 or 200, or I think Justin Kara said he played like 3,000 battles before the Worlds that he topped 8. It's like they're playing so many battles that they just don't want to play
Yeah.
side events.
And those are pretty intense battles as well. It takes a
Yeah.
lot. It's not just pushing a button. It's not just tootling through your game like I do, because I just tootle around and play through my game. I mean, there's a lot of stats that they're keeping in their heads and that
Yep.
are going through. So it's pretty. It's not necessarily physically taxing, but it's definitely mentally taxing for these our competitive players.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah.
Now, one of the things, and I know Jen and I were kind of chatting leading up to this episode today too, and with Memphis coming up, what were the numbers at San Jose for? VG?
We had 180 registered. That's across the age groups. 8 of those, not all of them showed up, by the way, but 8 of those were juniors, 14 of those were seniors, and the rest were masters. And I think probably 150 of the masters showed up, maybe 100. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of because Patricia chose to check everyone in the night before. So if you were registered, you were checked in automatically. So we did have some no-shows, people who paid to be there and weren't there, which is okay. But I was kind of hopeful that we're going to hit that 180, and we hit somewhere in the 160s.
Yeah. So, I know for Memphis, as of this afternoon, I haven't looked recently, but
I
as
saw
of this,
the 100,
it's at 100 total.
Yeah.
which is
And
like crazy to me. That's
Well-
80 less than we had. So
So Jen and I were talking a little bit. Some of it is we are reaching the end of the 2017 format.
that is
Memphis
true. That is true.
Memphis is the last one,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
In this format. Somebody in my chat says 109, so we got 9 more since
Ooh,
this
9
afternoon.
more. Woohoo!
Woohoo!
We are still under the TCG senior numbers though. Hey.
That's unreal.
Sorry.
It's
That
unreal.
was a little dig.
Although with this event, San Jose, we saw 30, 35, maybe 40 players register in that last 2 days for
Oh,
VG.
Yeah,
that-
that's
They're
typical.
always
Yes.
That always happens, right?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So maybe the 109 will get up to one. What are the seniors? TCG.
Well, Memphis still has what, like 2 weekends to go, 3 weekends?
Yeah, like another 15 days, 16
something
days,
like
something like
that. So
that.
Yeah.
there is time, and VGC is known for waiting until
Yes.
last minute to register, and they really
Yeah.
need to change that, because so many of them missed out on London because they just kind of
Yes.
waited.
They did.
Yeah. So one of the things that we were talking about this earlier, was it just today or yes, it was last night. We are coming to the end of the 2017 season. So these players have been playing this format since London last year.
Yeah.
Okay. And look at what happens when we have the new format change. Usually we have an attendance spike. We don't get the TCG numbers
Yes.
clearly, but
No.
our attendance does spike at the format change. And one of the things that TCG has for them, and Jen, she can elaborate a little bit more because she likes to talk about it because she tells me all the time. TCG has the benefit of every 3 months when a new set comes out, the format's refreshed, right? There's new mons, there's new mechanics, there's new interactions, and every 3 months there's kind of this new fresh format that players have to adapt and change to, in addition to also having standard and extended formats,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Video game, we have.
Expanded.
Did I say standard?
You
Or
can
whatever
say
it is.
You said
Extended.
extended.
Expanded.
Taka, taka.
See, I can still do cards.
Taka, taka, taka. Judge ball, staka, taka.
There we go.
Uh, So, but we're stuck with this format until a whole new game comes out, or at least that's the pattern. And so Jen has shared some ideas with regards to how do you keep the VGC format fresh throughout the entire season, with some minor format changes to kind of help drive that interest. Because with Memphis being less or just over 2 weeks away, it's the end of the format. So unless you're really chasing a whole lot of points, some people are like, you know what, I've got my new game. Why don't I focus on finishing up the game, start building and playing VGC 2018 format, and save my travel money for the first regionals of the new season, which is Dallas.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
It does make sense. Now, is Memphis, is that within the quarter of, as far as travel stipends?
So Memphis is actually travel stipends
or is
for Brazil or wherever the South American International is. The cutoff for Australia was just
weekend,
this past weekend,
Okay.
right? So I know a lot of people were kind of going out last minute to San Jose, and that may be why you guys got a slight bump in attendance, because people were like, oh, I gotta get those last minute points to get in. And I know Ray Rizzo actually flew out and secured his stipend this past weekend. Yep.
MSS.
Yep. I think he won the MSS. I saw.
He won the MSS. Yep.
Oh yeah, and I saw Justin Krubov threw some
won
shade.
4 MSSs in a row, I think, right?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and he came at Ray Rizzo on Twitter pretty hard. He's like, "Congratulations on your one MSS win.
Yes.
I've won 4 in a row." Yeah.
Meanwhile, Rizzo's got like how many worlds under
3.
his belt?
He's got 3 worlds.
He's got 3 behind under him.
That's true.
Row.
That's true.
Yes.
So
he's a legend.
Jim
Like
is
JuNiki.
on my chat, and he's bringing up we're talking about numbers for regionals, and he said he competed at Athens, and he thinks that there were 350-ish masters alone.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, so Athens was that first regionals after format. Dallas could be looking, if history repeats itself in terms of new format, fresh legs, people want to get into the new format, try to steal some early points when everybody's kind of unfamiliar with the meta and how mechanics are going to be happening with this. We might see a huge spike at Dallas.
Yeah, and Christine has she's got the cap for it too. I think the registration went up recently, and I think there was like 350 something seats for basic VG. So it's there as long as people register early, and this is what I keep saying. They wait until the last minute, and what they don't understand is that if there's a huge demand for TCG, those seats can get shifted over to TCG, and then
that just happened.
Yes.
I was going to say that
just happened.
Recently happened.
Yeah.
And then they complain about it, and it's like, well, if you want to secure your seats, you got to register early so that those numbers are true to what they're publishing. So
yeah, absolutely. So we are coming close to the hour, and I would be remiss if I missed a particular topic, and I want to make sure we actually hit it.
Is it coming?
No.
Wait.
Let's talk about Nikki's most memorable moment.
We already did that.
No.
All
right, I'm ready. I'm ready.
She's
gonna start throwing stuff, Mike.
Wait, we didn't talk about my hard moment.
Oh, you had one? You know what? But yours probably relates to what he wants to ask you.
No, actually, it doesn't. Surprisingly
It doesn't.
enough.
Okay, so with this
it's
in
all
mind,
right, Mike.
No. I actually really want to hear June's hardest moment in her judging staffing career, and then we'll hit my topic.
Sticking to VG or can she use TCG? Because she's got that experience.
Oh, it doesn't matter either way.
I'm going to answer this question, and Nikki's going to take the next question.
Oh,
So,
touche.
again.
Mike.
It's okay. You're cutting out. Sorry.
the most toughest one was actually at a state championship, and I had to ask a parent to leave the venue. It was extremely. I know Nikki's like, oh yeah, I remember that one.
No.
It was extremely difficult for me to do. It was not a decision that I made lightly. I mean, I agonized over this decision probably for about 40 minutes before I finally did what I had to do. It was, thank goodness the child had two parents there. So a parent was still able to stay and be there with the child. So that was a good thing. But this particular parent was actually going up to their child's opponents and saying, congratulations, thank you for losing, because now blah 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 gets to go, gets to move on, and they're going to be able to go to Worlds and this and that. And it wasn't just one time that this was reported to me.
Every round, and yeah.
And so finally I was like, nope, okay, we're done. Nah, I'm gonna cut you off at your knees. I seriously said that. Oh. And I asked the parent to leave the venue. It like I said, it was initially it was not a hard decision for me to make. I knew what had to be done. I knew I had to do it. But because you just never want to separate the kiddos from the parent. But this was much deserved, and I actually have to say that was the most difficult one that I've ever had to do. I mean, it goes above and beyond having, making the decision to DQ somebody because they earned that penalty. This was a little more on the personal side, and it was
there was just no
tough.
way to DQ the parent. I mean,
yeah, wish.
Yeah, well, and I think that was part of your conversation with that parent was, well, if you do not leave the venue, then I will DQ your child because you need to leave the venue.
I did.
I mean, at least at that point, the parent made the right decision and left.
Finally, after about 10 minutes of arguing.
We didn't have the social media that we have now, so we didn't get, written up on Twitter or whatever for that going on. But yeah, that was a really fun state championship.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was like, oh yeah, well, there's just Starbucks right over there, and it might just be a good idea for you just to go over there and hang out and wait till your child's done playing for the day.
Yeah, no kidding. So now I'm going to circle back around a little bit, and it ties back into kind of the state of the VGC, the video game championships, and how we move forward. Back when we esports and things and Jen's hiding.
No. I was going to say esports anyway, so you go right on ahead.
Yeah. So
here it comes.
Yeah. So Chris Brown came on board, and we were trying to grow the community and things of that nature. So I think, and this is my opinion, is we have seen a lot of growth in the video game community in terms of the event itself, right? And the formats and the structure of tournaments, and trying to get that same caliber in terms of the championship series being as the TCG, right? Because you guys, when you started, you shared with us earlier in the episode, this is the marketing committee, and they had some weird go stand on the purple mat, and now stand on the pink mat.
Exactly.
Right? But now we've progressed in a very short amount of time, to here's your rounds, and here's your opponents, and here's your pairings, and we use Tom just like everybody else, etc. And along with that comes streaming. It's near and dear to June's heart.
Wait a minute, where's my substitute?
And we talk about esports, and it's really good for viewership and growing the base of people to do that. But there's a delicate balance between running a tournament.
Delicate balance.
Yes. Grasshopper, yin yang. Running a tournament with a stream to support your remote viewers and build excitement, and people that are at the local venue, people that are distant, and having a stream production, trying to run that stream with a schedule. And I understand the importance of schedules. I get it. But there's that balance between the tournament where are my hands? There you are. Running the tournament itself and the stream itself, right? And when one takes precedence over
June,
the
come on.
other,
He's the Pope.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna do this so I don't swear.
you start to run into
Promise.
problems, right? And
Right.
to some
I
people,
promise.
stream is all important and it runs everything. And to others, the tournament is all important. And somewhere in the middle is where it should be. But Miss June, I know you have a strong opinion. I'd love for you to share with the community where you feel that balance, if it needs to be swayed one way or the other, where that balance should sway.
Well, of course it needs to be swayed one way or another, and I'm not going to swear because I promised I wouldn't. So y'all can already imagine what I'm going to say anyway. So it needs to, the balance needs to sway more towards the tournament side of things. That's no surprise. No, those words are not a surprise to anybody listening to me, you know, those words coming out of my mouth. Without the tournament, you're not going to have your stream. And yes, it is a very tactful, delicate balance between the two. But with the streaming, and like Mike said, with all the esports going on, yes, it's exciting. It's fun for family and friends to be able to watch those matches back home, so to speak. Either way, you know, putting them up, the finals up on the big screen and things like that, was okay. It didn't really, streaming enhances the event, but it does absolutely nothing for the event at the venue itself, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I understand. And
streaming comes with its own set of problems as well. I could talk about this all night long, guys. So you probably should cut me off.
Put on a pot of coffee.
Hold on, let me get some more tea.
Cut me off.
Nice mug there.
So, I mean, I get it. I'm not trying to be, I love that mug. Not trying to be unreasonable in any way, shape, or form, because I get it. I do get it. I understand it. But just because I get it and I understand it doesn't mean I have to like it still. I have to choose my words very carefully sometimes when I'm speaking with not necessarily the stream team. My issues are not with the stream team per se. It's not with the It's not with the commentators. Our commentators are absolutely wonderful. I have yet to come across one that that I dislike or don't like listening to, because they do a fantabulous job at commentating. They just need to hold on to those team sheets and not lose them.
Oh my gosh.
That's all.
How many copies do we have
Because,
to make for the event?
oh no, it's only going to be one from here on out. It will only be one from here on out. I don't care what they have to do.
Do you know that copying
anyway,
those team sheets in London took away 2 of our judges for almost 3 rounds?
What?
Okay, so now, did you just hear what he said? Let me piggyback on that. Also, not only does it do that, but with the whole streaming piece, we're also having to have judges on those matches as well.
Yeah.
So now you're looking at 2 different teams of 3 judges each, potentially, because it is so very unfair to expect 3 judges to be on stream all day long or through a huge block of time. It's just crazy. I've sat up there for 2, 3 in a row, I believe, at one point in time. And it was like, oh yeah, no. I have to rethink about how I reassign people and how we as a group, as a whole, because it's not just me, it's everybody or whoever is in charge of the event. You have to be very cognizant of the fact that it really is a killer to be sitting up there the whole entire time.
Yeah.
There has to be breaks in between. It's a huge piece, and it's very taxing on those judges.
June, you
okay,
happen
I'm
to
done.
know what they did in London. They actually designated who was going to be the stream judge, both video game, both trading card game. So they had 3 dedicated stream judges. So you were on 2, off a round, on 2, off a round. So they only had 1 judge per stage, which was great, because they just, but it was 2, so you were on onto, off, and it was beautiful.
And I
Was that
think
something?
Nikki,
Wait, I have a question. Was that something Armand did as head judge?
No,
or-
no. This was
It was
Becca.
already designated ahead
It
of
was
time.
designated. Yes, David knew before we went
Ah.
to London he was going to be a TCG stream judge,
Oh my gosh,
and
that's
he was on to,
beautiful.
off one,
Yeah.
and video game the same. It was awesome.
Becca, thank you. That was awesome because typically those responsibilities fall on to
a head
that
judge.
The head
a head
judges,
yeah.
judge to do,
Right.
which
right.
is fine, But no, that was brilliant then, and I'm glad that
Yeah.
that one
Right.
person wasn't
Nikki.
sitting up there the whole entire
Yes.
time.
Nikki,
my
I
chat,
also
there's
think that you had only 2 tables, right? Instead
we
of
only
the
had 2
3 that we
tables.
usually have at
Right.
Nats and Worlds, you guys only had
Right.
2, which
had
also
2.
lessens the amount of judges that you need.
Which was beautiful. I mean, again, if they're going to do 3 tables, they just need to pre-assign more than 3 judges, so they can do the 2 on and 1 off.
Right.
Our finals matches, we did actually put a second judge up. Hey, you worked really hard this weekend. We'd really like you to be up on one of the stream matches, but the dedicated stream judges were with them, so we had 2 judges on those matches. And in London, only 1 round was held up by stream, and that's because they chose the camera to watch one and then watch the other instead of doing it within our time.
Yeah.
And that was almost 36 minutes. So yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
But other than that, they did a really good job. A lot of times they were actually showing stuff that it wasn't live. It was after the fact. So they were recording that second match while doing the first match live. They'd throw up the second one, and then we'd start the next round. I think they didn't necessarily watch those all the way through. I didn't see how those played.
No, I
but
think they
kept
usually
looking
played
up
the
there.
last game.
I kept looking up there and going, wait a minute, but they're holding us up again. I'm like, oh no, here are their match slips. I said, okay, that's not live. But they wouldn't say that, right? They weren't telling the audience that it was live or not live. So, but I think they did a really good job in London.
We've been asking for that for a while, saying, you have the capability to record the second match. You don't have to hold that match and wait, because you never know. That match could go, 2 turns or 3 turns and be over. So we've been saying record that second match, have like a stream, a stream person designated to sit on it. And I know a little bit about how the backstage worked. I know they had one of the casters designated to sit there and watch that match, so that if they had to kick to it, the last game, they had information for the casters to say, we're going to this game in progress. They're 1-1. This is what's going on.
Right.
They had, and it was phenomenal because I watched it from home, and it was so little downtime that it was beautiful. And I kept saying, how is this affecting the tournament? How is this affecting the tournament? And finally, when I did hear about that one delay, it was just the one delay.
It was just the one.
Right.
And that's beautiful to hear, because I can't tell you the number of larger events where rounds are being held up. And it's frustrating because you're trying to keep a fair, fun, fast event for the players that are actually there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when the players have been done and they're waiting for 20-30 minutes because you're waiting on some kind of stream or production, it's not fair to the entire rest of the tournament.
Right.
No, those are the players that are coming out to play.
Or perhaps when somebody comes up with a great idea from back in La La Land and says, oh, hey, we'd like to have, all the standings. Before you put up standings, we want names printed out on note cards, so those names can be announced and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, whoa, wait, time out. You can't do that. Those standings have to be up. Those standings have to be up for at least 2 or 3 minutes before you start announcing that. So, see, I didn't care.
Well done.
So it's like, wait a minute. No. Screeching halt. Stop. So it,
Daka.
But on paper too, with all the streaming judges, on paper, oftentimes at the larger events, I know I have heard people talking, like in the backgrounds and just as I'm passing by, it's like, wow, they sure have a lot of video game staff members this year. But if people really stop and think about that, I think when Nikki and I first started, Nikki, we were a crew of 8 people, maybe.
Right. I think so.
Maybe 8.
Yeah, but then
And
back then
now-
our name was in properly.
This is true. This is true. Very true.
But
And now,
Yeah. Go ahead.
depending upon the event, we're looking at what, 20 plus?
Yeah.
You know, depending upon the event and what expected turnout is going to be. But the reason why we need all of those people now is now there is definitely a need to it's a must. And I'm so grateful that feedback that is given is actually heard, because we've seen some marvelous changes for the video game side over these last years. And we do definitely have a tech person now. With the way matches are ending now, with the match resolutions that we sometimes have to do and perform, you need to make sure that those judges are there and that they're spot on. Now you're taking judges away for streaming. And so while it looks like on paper that we may have a boatload of judges and what are we doing all day long, that's really not the case. That is not the
Plus,
case
you also
at
have
all.
to take into account that, you got to give breaks, lunch breaks, bathroom breaks, that kind of stuff. People need to,
What's that?
rotate.
I just shove a protein bar at him and tell him to eat it.
I mean, you're not lying there. You're not wrong.
Kidding.
We've all
I
had
don't do
June
that.
slipping us a protein
know.
bar and staring us down. Eat
Well,
it.
Yeah, see, that's only certain people, and he's hiding right now because he
Yes.
knows that comment was directed to him.
It's also me.
Anybody else, because I know, right? And the four of us, we do that because we just do what we have to do, right?
Right.
Your team, you just can't expect your team to work that hard and not
do
give
it yourself.
them.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll have people say, yeah, go take a break. Somebody's back in 10 minutes. And I look at them, I'm like, yeah, let's try that again. Okay. Bye.
There he goes again.
Bye.
So on that note too, one of the things we talk about when you
Nice
see
pivot.
I love
Hey.
you guys.
that's what the heck is that?
There we go.
That's pretty scary.
Taka
Yeah.
taka.
Stacka tacka. When we talk about the number of VGC staff people too, one thing I think that gets overlooked, and I as I started doing some tech stuff as well, and when we look, you compare like TCG staff numbers to VGC staff numbers. Granted, we have way less players. We are not quite as involved with rulings. I get that, but at the same time, what's not usually counted in terms of TCG judges numbers are the 10, 15 people, depending upon the size of the event, that are sitting at the hive doing deck checks all day.
Yes.
And so our judges, when they're not actively doing judging stuff, they're collecting team sheet data, or I have them sitting down looking through team sheets themselves and comparing them against data. So we're doing multiple things in addition to rotating on and off stream. So you also have to take into account some of those administrative functions that, a TCG floor judge is a floor judge. Round starts, they walk around, they give rulings. At the end of it, they come back, they sit, they talk about penalties or trends that they're seeing. VGC side, if they're not actively engaging something on the floor looking for cheating or technical issues, they're collecting hack check information, or we've got them go find this team sheet and run it back to the casters because they lost their 8th copy.
Because
or
again.
Really?
Yeah, so they're doing a bunch of other things too. So
yeah.
it's not just like, oh, hey, you've got 8 VGC judges for 200 players. You guys are more than good, right? Because, well, if all I had to do was VGC judging, yeah, that's more than enough, right? But when you start piling in all the additional duties that have to be accomplished, 8 is probably on the doable side, right? And especially as you start to spread out, and what happens when you've got a couple matches that are going to resolution all at the same time? We have to be split up. So those are the things that I hate saying that our numbers are so low, because you want to justify a larger staff, but at the same time, there's kind of a break-even point, even with the smaller numbers, that you kind of need this critical mass in order to function properly, right?
Yes.
So even at the 100 or 200 mark, a healthy size staff allows you to get that thing accomplished.
Yeah. And thank goodness the powers that be, accept that feedback, and they know, they know. And I can't say how much that I've appreciated, especially over the last few years, that they've noted, they've taken the notes, and they've supported us with some of our requests, so to speak. So very, very grateful for that,
Yeah, absolutely.
because otherwise it'd just be mayhem.
Oh, I'm so proud
Dogs
of you
and cats living together.
Oh, Lordy. So what else have we not talked about that I got my streaming question in, that's for
Probably
sure.
took up
Very
way
good.
too much of your guys' time.
Oh, no. We could go on for hours. Are you kidding? One thing that you guys did mention earlier about keeping applying for judging and keeping at it that didn't kind of get raised, and I wanted
Oh,
to
okay.
mention is asking for feedback. Because you guys are always very willing to sit down and talk to us and give us your honest opinion on how we've done on the weekend, or even come up to us during a round and kind of stand there and observe and then say, how
Oh,
would you do this differently? And like I can't express enough how much. I mean, it's the truth, though. I can't express enough how much I've learned just from those interactions. June's on the floor, and I'm like, uh-oh, June's on the floor. What have I done wrong? What am I not seeing? What? And then I'm like,
And it's
my
like,
eyes are darting
no,
around, and I'm like,
absolutely not.
but it's
I like to call it. That's what I call, and I'm not sure if everybody has even heard this, but that's what I like to call whisper in their ear. That's what I call it. Whisper in their ear. It's it's way back when we first started this, it was a learning slash training experience for Nikki and I too. At the very beginning, sure, a tournament is a tournament is a tournament. We know how to run a tournament, so it was just simply applying what we had already learned. Just applying that over to the VG side. But over the years, we have had the pleasure of, everybody that we have worked with, everybody has been so opening and welcoming to that feedback. Some people, I think, I come off as having a very strong personality and a very opinionated type of person. I shoot straight from the hip, but I always tell people, please, please, please come and talk to me. And sometimes I get that look on my face. I don't want to say it because I'd be swearing. It's the resting face.
Yeah.
And it's not because that I'm angry or that I'm upset, because I have to constantly tell myself to smile, but I get that look because I'm 10 steps beyond of where the tournament is at now already. I am already 10 steps above and beyond, and I'm like thinking, next.
right.
So never, ever be afraid to approach anyone to ask them, for feedback ever. And like I said, Nikki and I have had the pleasure of training people from all around the world. And it has just been, it has enhanced and enriched, my life just beyond belief, to have that opportunity for those training and slash teaching moments.
Yeah. And that everybody's,
and I learned from everybody else as well. It's just the way it is.
Now, people were sharing that picture of you and I. It was at North America.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, that everybody's like, look at that neat picture. I was probably getting whispered to at that point.
No,
she was supporting her buddy. That's
She's
what it
putting
said.
her arm around me.
I
Going,
was supporting my
listen
buddy.
What would you do differently?
Yeah, no, that probably was, Mike, you really need to go get something to eat. And he's like, I got a protein bar. And he pops out a granola bar. And I'm like, a granola bar, maybe 5 grams of protein and 35 grams of sugar. So that's probably what that conversation there was all about. And the whispering in the ear is a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
No, it is. It is.
It's not a bad thing because, no, for you it was that particular time, but no. But the whispering in the ear is also, if we don't say something when we see it during the event, instead of waiting until after the event, it doesn't do any good.
Right.
It's like it's teaching. It's a constant, just like a reminder, just like, hey, if I don't tell you now what I see that I think, hey, maybe we should be doing it this way instead, then you don't have a chance to show me that, yeah, hey, I'm actually listening to what somebody is trying to help me with.
And then
So, and you don't.
The second best set of feedback is always received after you've had a couple drinks. So,
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna do that
Massey
story.
about that.
We're gonna do that story.
Ask
Ask
Josh Massey.
Massey about that.
Oh man, that was some of the best feedback I've ever heard.
That would be a private conversation. Don't ask him in a public forum.
Yeah, but honestly, just kind of growing off of this is at the very beginning. If you joined us at the very beginning, you've heard Miss June and Nikki give their kind of credentials and chronology of where they've been through the video game championship series. And by God, if you're going to listen to anybody when it comes to video game tournament organization running things, you definitely have to listen. You may not agree with some of the things that they may say or do or advice that they give, and that's perfectly fine. That's up to you. But I think you owe it to yourself to at least listen to what they have to say. Okay, take that into account, because there's many years and many events worth of experience under these two ladies' belts. Okay, and that's.
June.
I am smiling. See, I even got my "I love you" sign up.
Okay.
That's how people get better is learning from others, right? And taking things that you've seen that you like and works well, getting that feedback on things that sometimes you may not notice or realize that you're doing something that could be improved upon, or and not all feedback that they give you is on the constructive side. They also reaffirm some of the good things that you've been doing too.
Absolutely.
So take those.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. And take those things and roll them into the things that you're going to be growing and moving into the next type of event. But yeah, absolutely. These two are they're up there.
Oh
right?
yeah.
No.
Don't let them tell you otherwise.
We were in the right place at the right time when they needed
Yes, we were.
organizers. That's
Regardless
truly
of
it.
how you, regardless of how you may see it, you
PCI.
have had that experience, and whether you think you're good or not, Miss June and Nikki, that experience counts in one form or another, right? So
TPCI had the faith in us. They just told us to take it and run with it and make it our own, and that's exactly what we did. So, yep, grateful for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Anytime they ask.
Yep.
Like, oh, Pikachu, you want me to run slips? You betcha, I'm there.
that's right.
We keep asking to run slips again, but they make all the players do that. You know the number of steps Christine used to get in running slips?
Oh, yeah, crazy.
We would always felt if we could be runners again.
Yeah, no kidding.
We can make you run, Mike.
He just got nothing to say to that.
That's all I've got to say about that.
Yeah. No, Jen and Mike, thank you so much. When you first approached us about coming on and sitting and chatting with you, Nikki and I were like, why would you want us? And both of you were like, are you kidding me? Why wouldn't we want you? So thank you. It's been an honor. Yeah. And yeah. I had a great time. It wasn't painful. It wasn't painful.
Yay!
My electronics here were pain, but no, the interview was great. Thank you.
Is there any other wrap-up questions that you wanted to hit, Jen?
You had one at the bottom there, and I think that it's probably the most important of all. And
it seems kind of awkward
is
just cramming it
no.
Yeah.
I think it's a perfect wrap-up question, and it is: what is your favorite Pokemon and why?
Go, June.
Go, June.
Mine is Togepi, and just because, how can you not love that cute little egg that wobbles back and forth, And ever since I started coaching ASA softball for my daughter's softball team, the girls started calling me Mama June. That's how that nickname came from. So it was only fitting that I chose an egg type Pokemon as my favorite.
There you go.
And
That
I'd
makes
just
sense.
like to say that it did my heart good when Togekiss was a great support Pokemon a couple of years ago in the video game. Did my heart good.
Yep. Yep. My favorite Pokemon is Psyduck. I do have a second favorite I'll go into in a second. But Psyduck, because he's silly, he's Psyduck. But what I like about Psyduck is I've had migraines since I was 6, and I don't get more powerful when I have a headache. But he does. And he knocks people out of the park because he has that migraine. So I always have that goal for myself that someday when I have that migraine, I'm going to actually win. And it doesn't hurt that Golduck is a good support Pokemon as well. But I never evolve. So I did go through Sun and Moon without letting my Psyduck evolve, and he was on my team at the end. So
Nice.
apparently that makes it harder to win. My new second favorite Pokemon ever since June and I have been around, and since he's been available, is Swellis, because he's that two-headed dragon like June and I. And if you look at any picture of him, one of them is smiling and one is not, and you never know which one of us is going to be in that
Yeah.
or is going to suddenly take care of business and be grumpy. So, but Swellis, of course, is definitely a favorite since we've been doing this.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Oh,
That's a great way to end it, Nikki. That's awesome.
absolutely.
Wrapping
So,
it up, right?
so
Yep.
if you see
have
the
for now.
Swilus running around the tournament, you
Yes.
just look out for which one's grumpy and which one's happy. Just keep that
That's
in mind.
right. That's right.
And make
Nikki.
sure you
And-
have an energy bar for both of them.
But it has to actually have protein in it.
Protein in it.
There we go. Have a protein bar.
There we go. There we go.
All right. Anything else, Jen, that we forgot or you
No,
missed?
I think that's it. I just want to say thank you to both of you for everything, not just for being on the stream, but for everything that you've done for both of us. So, thank you again, and hopefully I get to see you soon.
Thank you so very much, and thank you everybody for sticking with us tonight. Hope you had a good time listening to the fabled story of the VGC, how many moons ago.
Now I'm feeling old, June. Now I'm feeling
Our-
old.
No, our judge ancestors brought forth Pokemon.
That's it right there.
Mike, what do we have going on next week? Do we have a topic for next
I don't think we have a
week?
topic nailed down. We got a couple ideas in the crockpot to kind of simmering, but nothing's really been solidified yet. So we're gonna have to talk about that. And if anybody has any ideas, as always, hit us up on social media, or hit us directly, or whatever.
Don't hit
Just,
me.
Mike has offered up, so
You can hit Mike.
Yep.
You can
Mike.
hit me all the time. All right. So I appreciate you guys joining us. It's always great to see your faces. I miss all y'all.
Yeah.
Stop
Oh,
that.
Same. I miss you
Thank
guys too.
And hopefully we'll see you guys soon at an event near somebody somewhere.
Yes.
Okay.
Portland
All right.
Regionals.
Yeah,
Shameless
Portland.
plug.
Shame-
Portland Regionals.
There is no
March
shameless
24th
plug
and
here. This is
25th.
just plug it.
Come on down.
Wait,
Come
say
on
those-
over, Mike.
Say
Yeah.
say those dates again.
March
Uh,
24th and 25th.
There we go.
There you go. Hey, that'll be new format, guys.
That's
Yeah.
right.
It will be.
That's
And hopefully we'll have a lot more video game players signed up by a couple weeks before than we're seeing right now. It is open for registration, by the way, already.
Yes,
Wow.
it is.
Yeah,
put up
open
those
up
Holiday
links.
special.
holiday special through the end
Holiday-
of the year. Yep,
Is there a holiday special?
there is. It's
For us.
Well, do
Yeah.
share.
it's $40 till the end of the year. It goes up to $50 on January 1st.
All right.
And
well,
of course, there are packages as well. But is at portlandregionals.com, correct?
That's correct.
So
News.com. You heard it here, guys. Go register.
Go check out
register
those
before
backpacks.
you book your airfare.
Oh my God, those backpacks. Are they
Oh my
anything like
gosh.
that? Oh my God. I
Yes.
love those backpacks.
Yes, they are. Hey, sign up. Come play.
Yes, yes.
I hear we run a pretty amazing event, so you should really come check it out, man.
Where would you hear that?
I mean, I think today is
I can't
Flight
laugh.
Tuesday or Travel Tuesday. All the flights are on sale right now. So if it's still
Woo.
Tuesday where you are, go to your favorite website that you get your flights from and check out the flights for Portland Regionals March 24th and 25th.
Absolutely.
Wow.
You will not regret it.
God.
So.
I'm gonna have to go look at my calendar. And And Jared, if you're still watching, don't get too excited because we don't have that much money. But I will go look at the calendar. I'm serious. I'm like, oh my god, the things I want to do. Okay. All right. Again.
TMI, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Have a good
Thank
night.
you, everybody, for watching.
Thank you for
and,
watching, everyone. See you next week.
Catch you next week.
Yeah.
All right.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.